All right, every once in a while, I come on and you got that look on your face, like
I'm fired up. I'm fired
cat
up.
that ate the canary thing. Which, that doesn't sound all that appealing. Canaries for a cat. I mean, a lot of more feather than substance.
I see cats catching dead birds and picking them up off the ground and bringing them and dropping them on the doorstep. I don't see them actually killing birds. So I don't know. But so my dad calls me today. My
Right.
parents are big New York Times crossword puzzle people, and so much so that we spent a lot of our family vacations going through this stuff. And I suck. I mean, my parents are like well educated, read everything, and they're in Olympic training for this stuff. So my dad calls me up today. He's like, Tim, can you help me with 2 things on the crossword puzzle? My poor dad, by the way, he doesn't talk like that, but that's the dad invitation. You have to understand, this poor guy raised 5 kids, came home every night, great man, and all we do is make fun of him. Anyway, Tim, can you help me? Number 23 across on the New York Times crossword puzzle. It's a marijuana cigarette that's 6 letters. I'm like,
6? Hold on. So don't tell me. Let me try to. A 6. So it would be.
There's a couple.
I'm not having imbibed.
You don't have to
in
be.
My life.
You don't have to be. If you've seen a Cheech and Chong movie, you're good on this one. So
it's what do they call not
a blunt, because you're
not a blunt. Lick a spleef.
It was spleef. Some might have been guessing
spleef?
doobie. It was spleef. But then this is one of the great parts about it. It's like, I said, Dad, it's a spleef. 6 letters, begins with an S. It's a spleef. He's like, that's great, but it's spelled spliff. I'm like, I know, Dad, but it's, you got to be like Rasta with it, man. You got to be like spleef, man.
So how do you spell spleef? Is there an E in it, or is it a couple I's, or a bunch of F's?
I think there's an E and an I. I think that's what we're doing.
But okay, in the world of spleef, is it I before E, or is it just a special?
Except after C, yeah, except after Cheech. And then here's a last one on the way out the door. You would have been able to help my old man. Probably you didn't get the first one. You would have gotten this one. Then he's like, Tim, rock and roll Joe, who's got 9 Emmys, guitarist. And
it's got to be Joe Perry.
No, it's not. And I need to give you the letters. 8 letters. That 8 helps.
Letters. Joe. 8 letters. Who's that?
Award-winning guitarist.
I don't know. Help me out here.
Satriani. Joe
Satriani, like the Joe Satriani project.
Yeah, dude.
He's like the studio guitarist of the Stars.
Well, meanwhile, he was massive in the 70s. And yet has had a renaissance in the 80s. And this is a good segue into where we're going with the news on GM today. So GM apparently...
Wait, I'll stop for 1 second.
All right.
You just went from spleef to Joe Satriani to renaissance to GM. All in like the course of 30 seconds.
And I think it works.
It does work. It's genius. But
I mean, Joe Satriani was probably sitting in a... I don't know, what kind of vans did GM make? I mean, Ford made the Econoline, which I was about to rattle.
Sure, it did. Like the Astro van or something,
Well, but he was sitting in a tricked out 80s or 70s van with like the moonroof and the shag on the interior, smoking a spleef, and bringing around his guitar. But the point here is that GM, which when was their heyday? I don't know, but it's certainly not for the last 5 years if you look at the stock. Despite the fact that when they went global motors, it was supposed to be a new age. But the announcement that the EV line is coming out and it's being led by an EV Hummer,
Pardon me?
Well, let's not go into how anyone is going to name that truck.
All
Hummer.
I said was, pardon me. Maybe I didn't hear you correctly.
Well, let's not get lost in, first of all, Hummer. I know what a Hummer is, and it's
a large automobile that like Arnold Schwarzenegger would drive.
And also, who in their right mind? I can just tell you that when those things came out, that was like the asshole car, right? I mean, sorry, but you weren't, And the one time I rented one of those from Hertz or Avis when I was going someplace, and that's all they had. In the time that I picked it up and drove downtown to pick up one of my buddies, I got pulled over twice. Okay, so it's a It's not a chick magnet. It's a cop magnet. And it's not the car that I think, despite the fact that Schwarzenegger was a badass in the 90s with it. So let's get to GM, please, because the announcement that they're coming out with their first, EV that's based upon their Ultium batteries, which is the battery technology that, by the way, was behind part of Nikola's interest in them, takes the stock up 8%. You've got a couple different analysts come in and talk up the stock, including Bank of America, pointing out that this is really a sign that GM's made a major commitment to EV, and that arguably that they've always been there. But with that announcement are a couple other announcements about building plants, and also there's news out on autonomous for GM, which was always out there. So the point is, what multiple do you put on a car company that has EV exposure? I.e., look at Tesla, look at NIO. I mean, why not GM, guy? Why not GM?
Well, listen, I'm with you. I will tell you that so obviously General Motors' stock went from 28 basically to 35 on the back of that Nikola announcement. It's got to be 2 months or so ago, right? Or maybe even longer. Who even knows? And then in the subsequent weeks that followed, there was some of the bad news in terms of Nikola. Trevor Milton, the CEO founder, stepped aside. And my concern was that, although GM didn't make a dollar amount investment, just being associated with Nikola under the auspices of whatever transpired would have been really bad. And the stock did go from then 35 back to 28. But here we are. I think if I'm reading it properly, I think the stock is right back to 35. So to your point, GM has weathered that storm. And look, they're not going to get a Tesla multiple. You know that. They're not going to get but they should get a premium multiple as to what they've been getting for the last decade or so. So maybe GM is finally out of the doghouse.
And that multiple has been between 6 and 8 times, closer to the lower end of that range. And for a company that Mary Barra and that company have been run for profitability, they've cut U.S. operations that have been unprofitable. They got out of Europe a long time ago. Meanwhile, Ford still can't get out of Europe. I mean, the company's been vilified with this administration for doing what they have to do. And I realize that the politics around job cuts, especially in important political states, is something that's easy for politicians to latch onto. But I think you're absolutely right. If GM even gets 1/100th of the multiple benefit that obviously you get from Tesla, which isn't profitable, nor is NIO, nor is Nikola, all these other concept stocks, SPACs galore going into EV, and GM, a company that now is profitable with actually decent secular trends in the auto sector. And I know that, it's not an easy thing to say. Look, we got to go. But on the way out here, I got to give you the would you rather, a Hummer or an Astrovan?
You're leading me down a very dangerous road.
I'm talking about cars. I would
take the Astrovan, Tim. I don't know about you, but the Astrovan to me sounds like the safer vehicle for somebody of my age. So it would be the Astrovan, Tim. What about you? Would you rather have a Hummer or an Astrovan?
First of all, I if anything, I would make my Astrovan a minivan. But yeah, you know what? I'll take the EV Hummer. I mean, why not? I'll be on the leading edge. And I think you've actually worked through the asshole factor. I'm sorry, I know this is a family show, but I think the leading edge EV technology here is actually going to make this thing cool. I think people will be rushing out to buy it, and God forbid Tesla bots and hawks and people that are going to at me. Maybe this actually comes out before that Cybertruck that still seems to be in design. Guy,
we got to get at, by the way, quickly, a great Neil Young song, Hawks and Doves. I encourage you folks to check that out. By the way, Neil Young is a big fan of the Commercial Break.
Yes, he is.
I'll talk to you later.
See you in Canada.